So now, last but not least, I would like to welcome Madihah Ansari. Madihah has very kindly agreed at the last minute to stand in for, actually, I think it's your sister-in-law, Samina Ansari, who was originally due to come but couldn't quite make it this evening. But we're very lucky to have Madihah because she has a degree in Islamic theology, so is very knowledgeable on the topic, I think, which she got from the universities of Bradford and Dundee. She's a full-time optometrist and says that she enjoys walking, music, and art. So over to you, Madihah, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, no, absolutely perfectly. Thank you so much. Yes, apologies. I had a bit of technical issues at the start, and I feel like I don't have the credentials as everybody else. But yes, just a wee brief. So yeah, I did do a degree in Islamic theology, and so yeah, most of my talk today will be just about hospitality from an Islamic perspective, and just what that entails and things like that. So for me, as coming from a Muslim background, born in a South Asian family, so Pakistani family, hospitality is a very, very big thing. We were always taught to honour our guests and to make sure that we make people feel welcome in our home, make it feel like it's their home essentially. When you invite somebody into your home, they should feel comfortable, they should feel like they can be themselves, and that was very much instilled in us from when we were very young. When we were very young, we would have lots of people in our homes. I grew up with there's 7 of us all together, so a very big family, lots of food, a bit like this speakers before that, food is a big part of it. And that's a very big part of the culture and also the religion, that you're being hospitable. And also just from an Islamic perspective, a lot of the hospitality that we see comes a lot from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And a lot of that comes from the original kind of migration story, which is quite a good kind of example of hospitality. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, migrated from Mecca to Medina in the year 622, and that's where we get our Islamic calendar from. So this is why you'll find that our Islamic calendar does from after Hijrah, so after migration, and that's from when the Prophet I'll say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that just means like peace be upon him. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, migrated from Mecca to Medina, and a lot of at the time in Mecca, they were facing a lot of persecution. And when they moved to Medina, it was a completely new environment. They didn't know anybody, and a lot of the people of Medina, which were coincidentally called the Ansar, so Ansar means the helpers, and that's why they were named that, were very hospitable. So they opened their homes up to these people who were essentially the only thing that they shared was their religion. But they didn't know these people, they weren't related to them, but they opened their homes up to these people, they opened up their businesses, they gave them money, they set them on their way essentially. So it's given us a very good kind of example, if you like, for how we should treat people and how we should open people up and make them feel welcome into our homes. There is a prophetic saying, so a hadith, what we call a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that says, whoever believes in Allah and his last day, let him honour his neighbour, and whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him honour his guest and recompensate him. And the companions of the Prophet asked, what is a recompense? What do we have to do? And he said, a day and a night, and for good hospitality is 3 days. So you to keep somebody in your house for 3 days, and after that is charity. Okay, so to keep somebody in your home, a guest, for 3 days is kind of like the minimum of what is expected, and then anything after that, anything you want to do above and beyond that, is charity for you. But we should always open and welcome people into our homes. And another thing, yeah, absolutely, with the food is, I grew up in a big family, but it wasn't even just that. You would always make more, and you would always welcome people in, whether it was your of the same faith as you or not. We had a very big thing of like any kind of like Eid is coming up next week, so we'd make sure to like make extra food, and we always give it to our neighbours, to our family members. A big part of hospitality in Islam is we look to make people's lives easier with our hospitality. So things like making sure like the Eid next week is Eid al-Adha, which involves kind of giving out meat to people, making sure people have a good Eid, make sure that they have food for Eid. And even with the Eid that's past there, so Eid al-Fitr, part of the hospitality of that is that we make sure that part of it is you give charity, so alms, and you make sure that that reaches people before Eid so that they can have a good Eid as much as yourself. And if you can welcome people into your homes to do that, okay. So I just wanted to say a little bit more. I think what I maybe wanted to talk about in the terms of hospitality was about immigration and that kind of thing, because I feel like that's quite a central aim and goal, like maybe a central theme rather, sorry, in Islam, because the Muslims were one of the first kind of immigrants or refugees, if you like, and how the people of Medina, so the people of the Ansar, opened their homes up and kind of took these people on that they didn't really know, but it was with the aim and purpose that, to make their lives easier, to be helpful towards them, and even just to like make them feel welcome in a place that was so different from theirs. And I think that's a really important thing, because I know a lot of the kind of social and political issues that are going on right now is to do with, refugees and, immigrants and that kind of thing. And Islam very much encourages the kind of hospitality and aspect of that. Whatever you give to somebody doesn't make you poorer. Whatever you give in charity, whatever you give in food or money or anything, doesn't decrease at all from your wealth or your what we call rizq, so your bounty that Allah has provided for you. If anything, it increases it, because if you spend willingly on others, or you open your home up for others and you provide hospitality for them, Allah will reward you. And again, it's not for the, I always try and do things from the point of view that, yes, okay, we believe in God and we want to do things, but just even as a human and as someone with good morals, hopefully, you want to make sure that people, if they're coming into your home or into your country, feel that they can be, well looked after and welcomed. So further to that, just more about like the food, and that is a big part of our religion as well, is that inviting people, eating communally. That's a very big thing that we do as well, and I think that's also makes people feel really welcome. Making sure that people feel that they can come and sit with you, and so much so that the Prophet would kind of say about neighbours so much, and about feeding the poor and that things like that, that people would thought that he would mention like feeding the poor and feeding your neighbours and that kind of stuff, so much so that people thought that these people could inherit from you, because that's how much he spoke about them. Just to kind of say a hadith that there is a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that says, verily the believers are like a structure, and each one strengthens the other. Okay, and the example of the believers in their affection and their mercy and the compassion for each other is like that of a body. So when one limb aches, the whole body will ache. So when we talk about hospitality, we just think about the people that are fleeing persecution, wherever that may be, whether they're Muslim, non-Muslim, whether they're Jewish. It doesn't matter about religion or faith or race. Hospitality is kind of absolutely right, and a universal theme, and we should feel that if anybody's in pain or anguish, we should feel that acutely. And part of hospitality is making sure that we open up our homes and as much as we're capable of doing to try and make these people's lives easier. Okay. yeah, so whoever grants respite to somebody in difficulty or alleviates him, that Allah will shade him on the day of resurrection. So we very much believe that all the kind of, things that we're doing, yes, there is hopefully an eternal reward for it, but also that is part of who we believe as we should be as Muslims. And Islam, I feel, fundamentally teaches you how to be a good person with good morals, in the sense that we want to make sure that people feel that you're approachable, you make them feel welcome, and that you can share your bread with them, you can share your food with them, and that that shouldn't have any bearing on how you treat anybody. So yeah, coming from a kind of Muslim background and a kind of very big, particularly in my culture, maybe this is maybe a side note, but maybe in my culture, food is definitely a very big thing. And especially if you find in just Muslim households, like you will get fed. Whether you want to or not, you absolutely will get fed. Even if you decline politely, you will not leave in the house without being fed. So yeah, it's very much that you want to encourage people, and if sometimes I feel like things like food and things like that are a universal kind of language that everybody can speak. So even if you don't maybe agree on a lot of things, you can sit down, you can eat, you can have a good time, and absolutely right, it makes social kind of conditions much better and makes people feel much more welcome. So absolutely, hospitality in Islam is very, very encouraged, and it kind of is for everybody. Yeah. Um, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, was the perfect example of that, in the sense that he very much taught us he didn't have much in the way himself, but anything he had, he would share it readily with anybody. And he would, if there was anything, that he would never say no to anybody. So if somebody asked him for something, or for food or anything like that, charity, it was never going to be a no. And I think that's the theme of hospitality when it comes to Islam, is that, and also just the whole migration as well, that the people of Medina really opened up their arms and their homes and everything, so much so that they would divide their wealth and they would divide like their assets with these people, so that really that they didn't know at all. And because that they knew that these people were fleeing persecution and that they'd left with nothing. And I think that's a very kind of central theme to hospitality, is that a lot of time we're kind of fed this narrative that we need to, unfortunately look after our own, or, giving is going to make us poorer, and that's really not the case. So, yeah, thank you so much. I hope that was informative.